Hello and welcome back. It's the Shreveportant podcast. I'm Jay Wadley. Before I get to today's guest, very big thank you to our friends at Hargrove Roofing. They're certainly Shreveportant. You got to know who's on your roof. And who knows, maybe today we'll figure out if some of those fire stations all around Shreveport, maybe they need new roofs. Who knows? Today's Shreveportant guest, he is the chief of Shreveport Fire, Clarence Reese Jr. Clarence, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? I would say I hate to start the show off like this. My pager just went off.
Hey,
like for real.
Where we got?
We still carry pagers.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
We still carry pagers.
Man, let's go. Let's get in the truck.
Never mind.
I can't come. Can I a little ride along?
A rock hit one of our fire trucks just a second ago. They paged me on that. Man,
hey, no
important
big deal.
stuff right there.
Pagers. So the Shreveport Fire's still on pagers.
Yeah, still on pagers.
And they're
man.
working. So that's good.
It is, man. When I go to a club or something like that and they start patting me down, I tell them I'm a surgeon.
They're like, is that a pager or are you just happy to see me? And they're like, it's a pager. Sorry, it's literally a pager. Clarence Reese Jr., man, I'm so happy to have you on. I've said it for the last few weeks. I've been telling people in my inner circle, it's like the Shreveportant podcast is going well. It's going to go really well when we get Clarence Reese Jr. on.
Man, I appreciate it.
And I just appreciate you coming by and making time.
Absolutely.
And it's such a beautiful, warm day outside.
It is freezing.
It's only 25
outside.
degrees today. It feels like 2. But thank you really for coming by and making time. We're going to talk. You've been the fire chief of Shreveport for a little over 2 years now, right?
Almost 3 years. April 11th will be
Does
3
it
years.
does it feel like it's flown by, or does it feel like way longer than that?
At first, it felt like it flew by. The last probably month and a half, it's really slowed down.
Really?
Really.
Why is that? Just
I don't know, personnel.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's always personnel issues.
it's like, man, is there less fires this time of year? I guess I just never really thought about that.
Actually, man, it's been one of those years we've fought more fires in the summer than we normally fight.
Oh, really?
It's vacant house fires, which is a hot topic in Shreveport right now.
Yeah, man.
But we expect to see a lot more today.
I want to dive into the world of firefighting and of course your history and your career. Before we do that, I got to introduce my man. He's back. The toe is here.
Hey, the
Look
toe
at this
is
guy.
back. We had a broken toe last week, but
Yeah.
the toe is back in full, maybe not full force.
No, not
Got
full
a little
force.
frostbite on the toes.
Toe is wearing pants today. I'm guessing that's a temperature situation, right?
Oh, it's very much a temperature
Or
situation.
be honest, did you do it because the chief was coming by today? You put on some pants.
Oh, no. I wish I could be pantsless for the chief.
Wow. It's not every day you hear that.
No,
you know?
not really.
But that's how you know you made it to a real reputable broadcast establishment.
Absolutely.
You know, when the producer's wearing pants.
That's it.
Thank you for being back, Toe. Missed you last week. Once again, all of my friends are firemen. I always wanted to be a fireman when I was growing up, and all my friends ended up doing it, and I just didn't. I went to the radio station instead of the fire station. So I'm super interested in the job. I definitely want to get into it. But I'd love to start, as I do with all of our guests on Shreveportant, in the very beginning. You were not born in Shreveport. You're actually from New Orleans, right?
Correct. Originally from New Orleans, born there, moved here for middle school. My parents both were in management. My mom worked for the Internal Revenue Service.
Okay, cool.
They may not
Shout
be-
out, man.
Yeah, they may not be here too much longer. We don't know.
Hey, Doge, how you been?
Yeah, things are changing.
He's coughing in the back. Like, yo, chill.
My dad was in the funeral home business, so we moved
Okay.
here from Winfield Funeral Home. He's a mortician.
Is that why you guys moved to Shreveport? Was
Actually, it
the
was
funeral
actually
home
for my
business?
dad for the funeral home business.
Okay.
He's a mortician and managed Winfield Funeral Home.
Okay.
The one funeral home that I know of that burned while he was oddly enough, I spent all my after school days there.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, it burned.
That's a
burned all the
sign,
way
man.
down.
I hate
Yeah,
to
so
say
I
it. That's
knew
just
I
a
needed to be a
sign.
fireman.
That's a sign, man. Tell me about before you guys made it to Shreveport. So that was a pretty long time in New Orleans. So you were probably 9 or 10 when you moved to Shreveport?
Yeah, I was about 10, 11 years
What
old.
was growing up in New Orleans like?
That's where all our family was.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's from. My dad and my mom kept us away from a lot of the issues that everybody sees out in New Orleans, the projects, the crime, and everything else. They shielded us from that as much as possible. But we still grew up in the same neighborhood, uptown New Orleans, right across the street from a whole city block cemetery. So oddly enough, my dad's a mortician, and we grew up. So I grew up.
That crazy how life works, where you guys just
Man.
circle. 'Cause you always kind of circled around what your calling to was.
I mean, grew up riding a bicycle in the cemetery, jumping wheelies off of
Yeah.
people's graves. Like, how eerie is that? And,
It's eerie. Well, I was about to ask, just growing up as a kid, always in a funeral home, like just to be around that, were you kind of numb to, maybe the weirdness that somebody like me would think, man, that's kind of creepy, But were you just kind of numb to that at an early age?
Very, very numb to it. It hardened my heart a whole lot.
We'll get into this then, but I bet that helped you out a lot as you began
It's a
your
big
career as a
fiber.
paramedic and into the field.
Absolutely.
You keep saying us, siblings?
Yes, 3 brothers.
3 brothers, older, younger?
All younger. I'm the oldest.
Oh, let's go.
I was the example.
Your dad number 2. I bet there's a lot of situations where, you had to be dad,
the
right?
brother right underneath me is 18 months, so we were right about the same age.
Yeah.
The other ones were much younger.
That's cool, man.
Yep.
So life growing up, what was family life like? I know you said your parents kind of shielded you from what life could be in New Orleans.
Yeah.
Do you remember what childhood was like with them and living down there?
Yeah, very close knit. We had a lot of cousins. My dad's also a pastor, minister, so
Okay.
we were in church every Sunday.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, my grandfather did not go to church. He preferred Saints games and fishing.
Look, Sundays, man. Sundays are kind of busy for some people.
And I'm talking about big fishermen. I mean,
Yeah,
Gulf
man.
of Mexico, well, I don't know what to call it now. Gulf of America.
Gulf of
whatever
something.
it is. Yeah, that's where his fishing
It's
was.
the Gulf of Shreveportant, man.
Mississippi River, all that kind of stuff. So that was, and of course I had family that that they shielded us from. That everybody has those
Okay, yeah.
those uncles, those aunts that you don't want to be around, those cousins that are doing the wrong thing. So
Yeah.
they got us out of New Orleans pretty quick, and I'm kind of glad they did.
That's cool.
I just came back from New Orleans this week, Monday. I was in New Orleans all weekend.
So you still have family down there?
Yes.
Are you still in contact with them down there?
Yes, and actually reconnected with a lot of them. I was there for a funeral, for my aunt's funeral.
Okay.
That I played at, and got to see a lot of my cousins and everything else. And now we're planning a family reunion. We moved there. We moved from New Orleans when I was 10,
Yeah.
11 years old. So
It's crazy. I actually didn't know that. I didn't know that you were. I was reading up this morning, and I just have to imagine. I'm friends now with a lot of people who grew up in New Orleans that ended up coming to my high school in 2009 during Hurricane Katrina. I think that was 09, 08, something like. I don't want to age myself. 5, yeah. I'm not that old. Trust me. Thank you, Daniel. I appreciate that. Daniel McDonald is here.
Yeah, 2009
he's
was the
helping
Super
you
Bowl.
and he's helping me. Yeah, that was the
was the
comeback
yeah.
after Katrina. But I know a lot of people that ended up coming to Shreveport and staying in Shreveport that I'm still great friends with today. It's always interesting, just to get the stories of growing up in a town like that, in a city like that, at a time like that. You came to Shreveport in 6th grade or 5th grade?
Sixth grade.
Okay.
Yep, started middle school at Turner.
Turner, and where'd you go to high school at?
Southwood.
Hey, Cowboys,
Proud
baby.
alumni. Yep.
Come on,
go
man.
Pokes.
This is the second Cowboy we've had on the show.
And so who's the other one?
Justin Hagler, the
Okay.
pastor at Simple Church.
I did not know he went there.
Yeah, he was. What is the mascot? The thing that if you go to Southwood, if you're a senior, I think you can become this. Everybody wants to be it. Do you remember what that is?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
Just a
Do you remember
graduate?
what he said it was? Yeah, just
wanna
a
get out of here.
graduate.
Yeah.
Everybody wants the diploma. Do you remember what it was, Toe? He said maybe the Cowboy or something. Oh, you weren't here that day
I
either.
wasn't here for Justin
I don't
Hagler.
know.
no.
Man, there was
Cowboy.
something, but yeah, hey, 2 Cowboys, man. I love it. I was a Cowboy
Okay.
for 1 week.
I
made it.
We kicked you out.
Yeah, they're like, "No, this ain't for you, brother. You got to get out of here." No, I went for like 3 days to
Okay.
Southwood, then I moved to Evangel. So technically, I think I count as an alumni too.
You do.
3 days.
Yeah. That's
You and I have something in common though. Besides my short time and your long time at Southwood, we both were great, and you still are. But I loved playing saxophone.
Really?
In middle school. Yeah, I started in the 5th grade as well, which is when I believe you started, right?
I started in the 4th grade.
4th grade.
In New Orleans. Yep. So
Yeah.
I started in New Orleans in 4th grade and continued it and still play.
Do you
to
think
this day.
in New Orleans and just being around that environment, that jazz, hearing it, you probably heard a saxophone every day, I'd imagine.
Every day, every
Yeah.
band you heard, from
That's so
reggae to the first line band, the brass bands, everybody had a saxophone, and that's the reason I chose it, was because of where I was. So
Yeah, man.
saxophone and drums, those are my instruments.
I just thought it was sexy. I was trying to get the
They're
girls.
trying to get the girls. That's it.
Look, Daniel will tell you, all right? You got your boy Daniel
I got
McDonald here today. He's my boy as well. Daniel and I went to elementary and middle school together
Okay.
at Walnut Hill, and he'll tell you, at Walnut Hill, if you weren't in the band, you weren't cool. That was where the cool people were. They were in the band. I love playing saxophone, though, and it's so funny because I believe you also had the same aspirations that I had at that time in my life. I wanted to play saxophone forever. I wanted to play in high school. I didn't want to play football. I wanted to be in the band on the field. I wanted to get a scholarship to play. I wanted to, and then that dream fizzled out for me pretty quick.
Mine too.
I went to Evangel. You ain't playing a saxophone here, son. You know?
Yeah, it's football.
Yeah, you pick up the helmet.
That's it.
The conversation was very short. I said, "Can I meet your band teacher?" And they said, "What's a band teacher?" And then that was the last time I ever played saxophone. Yeah, it was my freshman year in high school. That's cool though. So you still play? You said you played, didn't you? You said a second ago you played when you went to the funeral in New Orleans.
Yeah, I played at a funeral, my aunt's funeral. I played in church.
Yeah.
So pretty much every Sunday I play. Every now and again I play a special event. I tried to gig at one point, but something about gigging at and practicing at 11 o'clock at night and being married just doesn't sit well with your wife.
Nah, take it from me, man. It doesn't work. Gigging doesn't work out in the long run. That's so cool. I love that instrument. When I was in middle school, I was in 8th grade. I was little. I'm fat now, but I'm still kind of short. Back then I wasn't fat at all. I was $120, soaking wet, and maybe 5'4" or 5'5". So you'll love this. I don't know how many people out there will love this unless you Google it. In the 8th grade, we needed a baritone sax player, and they just couldn't find anyone to do it. And they were like, "You got to do it, man. You can play this thing, you know." And then I was like, "What's a baritone sax?" And they brought this thing out as big as this damn couch. I couldn't carry it. It was bigger. It was bigger than I was. It was gigantic. It was hilarious. So, I wanted to talk about our love of saxophones, man. I still got one at the house. It's
Man, pull it out. Let's go.
Man, if
start a band.
I should have brought it today, and we could have done a little riff talk. But an hour of the Chief of Fire and Jay Watley playing saxophone.
Man, that's a seller right there.
Next time we're doing it. Great. I'm glad we covered that. I definitely wanted to go into it. I think you and I are similar in that you also attempted to go to college as well, and then you said, "This ain't for me." Tell me about it.
So my college story, I dropped out before I even got in, really.
Yeah, me too.
So I wanted to do a bunch of tryouts, and I was like, you know what, I'm not good enough to join a band. Rutgers out of New Jersey and all that, Northwestern.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So after getting on the fire department, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go to Southern on the Cooper Road. And it was construction. I'm very impatient, and I have ADHD undiagnosed. Yeah. So I'm looking for the bookstore. I've signed up for the classes. I'm looking for the bookstore. I drove to campus twice, and I was like, you know what? No, I don't want to go to college.
This sucks.
I dropped out that fast.
So it was just the commute, basically, or
it was the construction.
Getting in and out?
I couldn't find the library.
Oh,
I dropped out because of the library.
And you said, "This ain't for me."
I said, "No, I'm out. I'll do this again in another couple of years."
When I went to college, it was before like Google Maps or
right.
Yeah. Once again, don't mean to age myself completely.
On
Tinder, I'm still 26, so I got to go on Tinder. This was in the MapQuest days. But if you didn't have a printer, MapQuest meant nothing. Right. I didn't have a printer, and I got a radio job in Destin, Florida, and I went to college at Gulf Coast Community College in Panama City. Now, on the map, it looks like that's a 10-minute drive. It's that far away. Well, I got down there, it was like an hour and a half. So, yeah, I made the drive just like Southwood, really. I made the drive for 3 or 4 days. I said, no.
Not for me.
I'm good. Who needs college? Well, tell me then, when you went, you were already in the fire department when you decided to go to Southern?
I was about 2 years. I was about 2 years in.
What made you gravitate towards first responders and being a fireman? Was there anything else you wanted to be? Did you want to be a police guy? Did you want to do anything else?
Nah. So I just had this talk. I spoke at a Tuesday morning breakfast about 2 weeks ago, and they said, "No, you never heard anybody say they want to be a trash collector." That was me. That's what I wanted to do.
No way.
I wanted to ride, get on the buggy in the grocery store. Mom say, "Hey, we need Frosted Flakes, corn flakes." We ain't had money for Frosted Flakes. We couldn't afford the sugar.
I know the feeling, man.
Hey, corn flakes.
I drank cola as a kid. You ever drank cola?
Yeah,
it was a red can, just had cola on it. Tasted like shit. My kids drink Coca-Cola. Trust me, I ain't putting them to it.
The same.
No, it didn't. I thought it did until I tried a Coca-Cola, and I was like, "Wait a damn second. I've been getting ripped off all this time."
Yeah, and I used to throw the groceries in the buggy like I was a trash collector. Get off the buggy, go grab it, throw it in there. So I actually wanted to be a trash collector.
Did you know a cool trash collector when you were a kid? Like, was your neighborhood guy?
That's all you saw them, right?
Yeah.
They rode on the back of the trucks. That's all I saw.
And they're always super nice. Like
they
even
are.
the ones here in Shreveport. Like, they're great.
They are. You're dealing with trash all day.
Yeah.
I mean, who you gonna be mad at?
Yeah.
Like, it's trash. You gotta. I mean, hey.
That's so true.
You don't have any people to deal with.
You know what? I never thought about it like that.
I mean, if I had to deal with people bringing out their trash, I'd probably be upset. But I mean, it's trash.
It's trash, dude. They're always. Well, I was like, do you remember meeting trash collectors there in New Orleans as a kid?
I do. I
Yeah.
had when I did this talk the other day, I don't remember where the nearest fire station was. Don't even recall seeing a fire truck come up and down the street. Couldn't tell you what it was. Don't remember a field trip or anything. So
Wow.
I didn't have that story of wanting to be a fireman. Now what I was fresh out of high school and thought I was in love. Well, I take that back. I was in love, got married, but I didn't have any money. I was like, my parents kicked me out. Well, I mean, I say kicked me out. I was the example. So they said,
Yeah.
18, you either school or you work, but you got to get up out of here or whatever. And
Yeah.
they were
And you're the
serious about
oldest
that.
too?
Yeah, and they were serious. So I was like, oh, well, got to go. So I wanted to get married, do the right thing. Didn't want to shack up and all that kind of stuff. I wish I had shacked up now, but
It works out better in the long run.
but I was broke. I ain't having the money. I was
Yeah.
too young to go to the police department. I was 18 when I got on the fire department. So
Oh, so you had to be 21 to get on the police?
yep, you got to be
Really?
21 to
I
be
didn't
able
know
to carry. I guess it's to carry a gun. I don't know, but I was too young for that.
Well, hey, fight at the nightclub, but you can't get in, buddy, to break it up. How old are you? Oh, you're 18? Nah. You stay outside, little man.
Yep.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. So that's literally what caused you to be a
I was
fireman?
young, in love, and broke.
Wow.
Nothing about me said run into a burning building.
No
That
way,
was
man.
That was the dumbest idea I'd ever heard of. And in training, I thought that several times. Like, man, this is hot. I'm dancing with the devil. Like, this ain't for me.
So you didn't love it right off the bat?
Actually, once I was in training, and once I made that first run after training was done, I immediately loved it. After I found out too that every call was not a house fire. I mean, we do everything, hazmat, EMS. So I really gravitated toward the medical side.
You get to eat delicious food all day, right?
Absolutely.
Come on, man.
Somewhat. I mean, that's where I learned to eat deer meat. I was like,
Yeah.
I never had deer meat until I made it to a fire.
I was just about to ask that. I was going to say, I guarantee you've ate a ton of venison, a ton of it. Yeah. I'm not going to name their names because I'll embarrass them, but you probably know most of them. Well, you have to know all of them, I'm sure. All of my friends growing up as a kid, like they are all firemen now in the city of Shreveport. And they always send pictures of their delicious food. And I'm like, when do you work, man? When do you work? And I'm like, can a 30-something-year-old like enroll? Like sign me up.
30.
Young 30s.
Yeah, 32 was our cutoff.
Oh. See you later. Do y'all check fake IDs?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, run backgrounds and all of that.
So really, there's a cutoff? I didn't know that.
Yes.
So I'm screwed now.
Unless you want to go to communications.
What if I could do that?
You can.
What if I tell him I know the chief?
You're still going to have to make 32.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough for me to make that.
Yeah.
Damn. If I shave my beard, though.
You're going to have to.
What?
Yeah,
I'm
tell me
good.
what fireman you've seen with a beard.
I'm good. That's a good point. I'm out. I'll see you later. Y'all have a good time in there. Man, that's interesting to me. So you got a taste of it, and what was it? Was it the adrenaline rush? Was it the feeling of helping someone? Was it all of that combined?
I think what it was. I remember one of my first runs or whatever, and I watched this lady literally die, close her eyes. But I thought about it. I was like, man, I've always been around the funeral home. I worked at the funeral home with my dad since I was like 11. So I'd be the little guy in the little suit standing by the casket, wondering why people were crying. I've done some other hellacious things at the funeral home too.
Well,
that
we
I'm
might
not
need to
proud of.
expound on that one
Yeah.
then, because what'd you do, brother? Let's talk about it.
Come back to that one.
Okay, we're gonna come back to that one.
Come back to that one. But I always saw the
The
death
statute of
side.
limitations. When does that run out on?
Oh, it wasn't
This
that
kind of
bad. Well, yeah, I always saw death, and
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want to be the guy that saves them before they make it to their gurney going to a funeral home. I mean, like I said, I picked up bodies with my dad, watching them embalm bodies. Like my entire childhood life was spent at a funeral home.
I know we touched on it just a little bit earlier, but like I still really can't wrap my head around that. Just around being around that at such an early age, and then being numb to it. Of course, yeah, it's going to translate to your job now, and your job even in the beginning. All of my friends though are the same way. They're so numb to things that would mortify me for life, and they're just describing their Tuesday afternoon. Mm-hmm. Tell me, can you recall maybe early on in your career a moment where you were the reason that somebody didn't end up in a funeral home? Can you recall?
I've been part of a team
of course.
that responded or whatever, but especially shootings, things like that. I think my first fire station was fire station number 9 in Cedar Grove, right there at St. Vincent. So I saw a lot of the crime. So that was an eye-opener for me, was seeing the crime. I knew I was going to fight fire. I knew I was going to deal with people with diabetes and hypertension, but actually seeing, people beat up, pretty bad, shot, stabbed, and everything else was quite the shock. You see that on the news, but now you're experiencing all of the lights from the fire trucks and police cars and everything else. People screaming. All of that was very overwhelming, but I turned into a real action junkie. Right after that, I was like, man, I'm waiting on the next. It's like,
I don't like sitting around eating
like
deer meat.
Like, man, I can't wait for the next one. I can't wait for the next one.
Wow.
But also now, full circle, realizing that, hey, you're praying, or I ain't gonna say praying, but you're hoping for a big fire. You're hoping for somebody to be shot, stabbed, and everything else. Now you think about it, and you're watching the people that you grew up with, their kids or them. It's like, man, somebody's going through the worst day in their life, and I'm sitting here waiting on this. Like, it didn't seem as cool.
I get it. I get it when you word it like that, but I certainly see it from both. It's almost a paradox in a way, because you love what you do and you love, but in order for you to really do what you do, something bad has to happen.
Something has to happen.
So
people
that's
say,
interesting.
when people say thank you, thank you for being a firefighter, thank you for your service, I always respond back to them, no, thank you for calling 911, or whoever in your family calls 911. Thank y'all, or whatever. Because if nobody was having emergencies, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, we skipped over this. How long ago did you begin your career in the fire department?
2002.
And you started here in Shreveport and never left?
Nope, never left.
2002? How old are you, man? You look younger than me.
I'm 42.
You're 42?
Yep.
That's awesome, man.
42.
That's cool.
Stress-free life.
Let's go. Come on, man.
The much stress I did have. No, I'm just joking. I was about to say tomorrow, I got divorced from her.
Hey, listen, imagine doing a podcast with her now. That's what my life is like. I do the Shreveportant deal, and this is fun. I can do this forever. And then I turn around and do one with my baby mama. And we hate each other. It's an hour of hell.
I got a really good relationship with mine. So
that's cool, man. Yeah, me too.
amicable.
I like to build it up a little bit. That's
I'm very fortunate.
Yeah, man. Do you have any children now?
Yes, I have two children from my my first wife.
Yeah.
And I have a 3-year-old from my current wife.
How old is your oldest?
17.
Man, what's that like?
She's about to go to college.
Oh, it's a girl.
Terrified.
Oh no.
2 girls. I am terrified.
Tell me what my oldest is 12, so I'm barely getting in. I'm barely getting into that teen, Man, what's that like, though?
Yeah.
Heartbreaking every day?
I grew up with 3 brothers. So my mom was the only female in the house, So it's now watching, having to go through cycles and all that kind of stuff, the attitudes that come along with it. Oh, I like boys now. And I was like, man, this is scary. Having to give her some keys in a car. It's like, I got to put you on Life 360. I got to watch you, because I also do law enforcement or whatever. I run with some law enforcement guys, and it's, watching that side, it's like, no, I'm putting a tracker on the vehicle. I'm about to put spy cameras.
That's the most protected girl in the city of Shreveport.
And she looks like me, so I tell her, like, you cannot mess up. I grew up the same way. Everybody knew my dad, and stuff would make it back to the house before I made it back. Who'd you have in my car today after school? Nobody. No, I can tell you now, it was a white female with dark hair, and you had 3 other people in the back seat. I'm like, golly, I couldn't get away with anything. So she's the same way.
That's a great. Mine deals with some of that too, for sure. And she's just now. It'll be more important to me when she gets a little bit older, when that kind of stuff starts.
Cheers those times now, though.
Yeah,
they do.
Mine already hates my guts. I'm already out. I'm already out of the cool part. Now it's like the most embarrassing person on the planet at all times. And I always tell her, I'm like, one day you're gonna come back to me. I don't know when though.
They're gonna come back.
One day I'm gonna still be me, and you're gonna come back. She texted me last night at 10:30 and asked me to DoorDash her Elmer's glue.
What?
It's rough, man. It's rough out here. That's cool, man. Well, congrats on having the full gambit. I mean, a 17-year-old and a 3-year-old. When you had the 3-year-old, what was that like, kind of starting over?
I think when she said I'm pregnant, I think I cussed. I'm pretty sure I did. I was like, damn, how did that happen? And I can't say I was that excited.
Of course,
because
I get it.
At that point, I got two older kids, and I'm like, I'm almost done. Child support to be done. This is gonna be awesome. And it started all the way over a 3-year-old, and he is full of energy, and I'm old. Like, I don't get up and whoop like I used to. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get you when I get up. I'm gonna get you after this nap. I want you to remember what you did.
We're so excited, of course, to have the chief, the fire chief, Clarence Reese Jr. with us today on this episode of Shreveportant. We're going to be back with the chief momentarily, but first, a word from our friends at Hargrove Roofing.
As a husband and father, keeping a roof over my family's head is by far the most important job. Under that roof is where we make memories, where we grow up, and where we grow old, where we weather storms and where we stay safe. At Hargrove Roofing, we understand the importance of keeping a roof over the head of your loved ones. with branches across Louisiana and Texas, we're all too familiar with hurricanes and tornadoes and hailstorms. We act fast after a storm to make sure your family is safe with a roof you can trust. At Hargrove Roofing, you know who's on your roof.
In your earliest days at the fire department, what if somebody said, man, Clarence, 20 years from now, you're going to be fire chief of the city? Would that even be believable?
Nope.
Yeah.
Because I caused about the same amount of heartache that I get that comes to my desk or whatever.
Yeah.
I've kind of done it. I wasn't very all the way out there rebellious, but I was gonna push the envelope and see how much I can get away with.
Okay.
Daniels worked with me in the EMS office.
Yeah.
Even as an officer, it was like, let me see how far I can push this.
Yeah.
But it was a guy. I remember Pines Road. I was standing outside looking outside the garage door, and he said, "Man, you're gonna be the fire chief one day." And I mean, I'm 3-4 years on. And I was like, "Man, ain't no way."
That's crazy.
I cuss too much. There's no way I can be in front of a camera or be a politician almost.
Yeah, right.
But full circle, I do believe in putting 100% into everything that I do.
Can I ask you just this question? What do you think that guy, because I can see it, I've known you now. We've never met. I don't think we've met in person before today, but I've known you for the time we've been together, and I can already see it. I can see exactly. What do you think that is? What do you think that you have where somebody just 4 years into your career, in a career where you're pushing the boundaries and you're cussing and you're having fun, what do you think made him see that in you?
More probably upbringing. So while I say I cuss a lot or whatever, I know who to cuss around, and I have a lot to say.
Yeah.
I just know when to say it. So the thing is, I think most of it was my upbringing. Pastor, and everybody knew I couldn't get away with much. So everybody expected a certain level of behavior, and I think that's what they see out of me. My dad's, the funeral home business, you're dealing with people's deceased. My mother with the IRS, everybody hates the IRS. Everybody or whatever.
You
But
included.
She would put me
She
in jail.
included.
She would put me in jail if I cheated on my taxes. But she dealt
That's
with.
great.
Knowing people hate you or whatever, and watching my mom have to still deal with that, managing 3 IRS offices or whatever, was, I think I watched them. I watched their management style. I watched how they, their upbringing.
Yeah.
And
At what point do you think becoming the chief, at what point did that become maybe something that you wanted or even possible? Do you remember a specific time?
probably about 2021 or whatever.
Okay.
I was the administrative assistant to the fire chief, and at that point, that was my last stop. I was like, man, I'm good. I'm the TV guy. By the way, I'm an introvert by nature. You wouldn't believe that, but
Yeah, I think a lot of people are that do that kind of work.
yeah, I didn't want to be bothered with anybody. I'm the guy that would stand in a corner in the club, if I even went to the club. But after Chief Wolverton was getting ready to leave, and I was like, man, what's the next spot? This was fun, but
Yeah.
it's time for me to do something else.
Wow.
And that came up, and a lot of people. I had a lot of encouragement from a lot of the men and women on the fire department, like, hey, we need you in there.
You had
and we
internal
wanna see you.
pushing to go for it?
Yes.
Man,
internal
that had to
pushing.
feel good, right?
It did. It did. I don't know if they still feel the same way now.
Yeah, they do, man.
But
That's
I about to say,
cool.
but I've always given everybody respect, and I expect the same thing. So
Yeah.
I don't treat anybody any different.
I got a question, and there's still some more that I want to get to in the transition of becoming fire chief. But as fire chief, do you find that you may be more lenient towards people that are maybe doing the kind of stuff you were doing when you were young and just joined?
I am until a citizen finds out. So
Okay.
a lot of the times, stuff that will require paperwork to be investigated and everything else, I'm quick to pick up the phone and say, hey, I've noticed you did this. That's your warning or whatever.
Yeah.
I noticed it myself.
Well, I was just curious because you're openly admitting to, in the very beginning of your time, kind of pushing the boundaries a little bit. So I just wanted to know what that's like now being on the other side of that, where now you kind of the enforcer here. We can. I think you just said it perfectly though. It's like there's a line. I know where the line is. You know where the line is, right?
And I had to apologize to pretty much every chief I've had. It was like telling, hey, I realized I'm the person you didn't, you probably didn't like working with me
Yeah.
or whatever. But
Wow.
I had to apologize to each one of them because now being in this role, I'm expected by the mayor, by the citizens of Shreveport, by the CAO to do my job.
Yeah.
And that's always been an adage of my that I've always heard. Don't do your job so that I don't have to do mine.
Right.
Or whatever. And most people get it.
Becoming the fire chief, like Walk me through. I know that's a process. I've been around a little bit now and covering loosely, whenever a new police chief, fire chief comes in, there's always like some hubbub going on, a lot of this and that and everything else. We don't have to dive into that, but just from a personal standpoint, what's that process like?
So it was a bunch of interviews, and of course I was under the Mayor Adrian Perkins administration. So his administration, got investigators calling me.
They said, hey, you were Jay Wiley, keep him there. We're on the way. We'll be there in 20 minutes.
But I was under Mayor Perkins' administration.
Okay.
So I interviewed with Mayor Perkins and now Sheriff Whitehorn.
Okay.
Whatever. Funny story is, did the interview, my parents taught me how to interview, so I knew I had a feeling I was going to kill the interview. Not a problem. But I was going up against a lot of people that had a lot more time, a lot more experience, a lot more education.
Yeah.
Sheriff Whitehorn did not want me as the fire chief.
Okay.
Mayor Perkins did. So, and me and Sheriff Perkins, me and Sheriff Whitehorn are really good friends now. We talk constantly.
Yeah, you have to,
But
I'm sure.
I was like, man, what was the deal? So I went back to the office after my interview and everything else, and the interim fire chief, John Lane, I was getting back in. He said, man, they need you downtown. He said, I think this is it. They're about to tell you whether or not you got it or not. And I was like,
what's your heart doing?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm nervous at this point. But however, I was like, I'm in a good spot where I am. So if I don't, no big deal. If I do, I really need to
Well,
prep.
do you think that's more like a safety mechanism so that your hopes don't get too high?
So it is, and
Yeah.
I've done it with other things in my life. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to go down there. And I was only in the office I was in the mayor's office with Mayor Perkins. And I remember crossing my legs. And I tell this like as a joke, knowing that Mayor Perkins probably could, for lack of better terms, whoop my ass. He's a high energy military guy.
Yeah.
But I remember crossing my legs, and I was like, man, if he tell me I ain't get it or whatever, I said, I'm hoping that slows me down before I try to grab him.
Let me put this huge cabinet in the way of us before you tell me this news.
But yeah, he's like, Tom, man, you're gonna be the next fire chief of the
He
city of
didn't make you
Shreveport.
wait long before he told
He
you.
didn't, but he's like, Tom, he said, man, I know what he said, man, your social media almost cost you your job. That's an important lesson. I tell it, a lot of younger people that all the time. My social media was kind of wild or whatever. I talk about people, post the most inappropriate stuff.
Yeah.
And it was right before, so I became fire chief April 11th. My birthday was March 25th. Daniel was there, I think. But my birthday party was at Louisiana Daiquiri, and the popular song "F.U." comes on, and I'm in the camera, somebody's going live, and I'm throwing up middle fingers, and I don't know who filmed it, and I don't know who posted it.
But we will find out, and we're coming. No, I was kidding.
But yeah, it was my social media,
Right, man.
And of course Sheriff Whitehorn's a lot older, but Perkins actually got it. He was like, you got to calm that down. You can't do that.
Well, I talk to a lot of students about social media as well, and it's a tricky thing because I know what it's like growing up, and I know, when social media first goes, it's like it's an outlet. I've always had difficulty really judging someone based off posts they made 20 years ago when Twitter first existed, and it's like the screenshot is so grainy you can't even barely make out the words. I think there's, like with anything, I think there's a line that you can't cross, but I think just generally expressing yourself and having a personality, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So I remember that. I hated that you went through that was getting dug up, and it's like, I was a kid, man. I was posting on Twitter. I wasn't
a kid. That was like a month before.
Dude, I was like, listen, I was like 40 years old, man. Okay,
Yeah.
Get off my back.
Yeah, no,
But just in general, just social media in general, it's like that's. I used to work for a radio station, and they had full control over what I posted online. So if I have my name on it, and because I'm an idiot, I chose my legal name as my radio name. So on all my social media pages, it was my name. So they took control of that brand. It essentially was a brand that they owned. So I couldn't post anything. I mean, everything had to get combed over. I mean,
You still work at a radio station?
oh man, I got out of that shit.
You don't
I'm
work
a big podcast guy now.
You don't work for the radio at all?
I don't know. I got laid off in December, actually.
Did they take you to Cracker Barrel?
I have been taken to Cracker Barrel once. That was at the other place, though.
Oh, okay.
But no, that's the joke now. It's not really a joke. Look, I'm emotionally scarred. I got fired from that place after 15 years.
Okay.
And that hurt. That was the Cracker Barrel trip. And then this new place, I got laid off. That didn't hurt as bad. Getting laid off is a lot nicer than pack your shit and get the hell out of here. Now enjoy your Cracker Barrel burger. Yeah,
They
a
at
lot
least
of
buy your meal, right?
What's that?
Do they
Yeah,
at
they
least buy
cover
your
the
meal?
meal. They
Okay.
cover the meal.
That's the
Yeah,
least.
but you work in radio, so it's like you can't even afford the meal, even if you're not getting fired. No, that's cool that you know the Cracker Barrel joke. Yeah, I've been fired from that place twice, actually. I got fired once, and they hired me back like a week later. And I thought I was hot shit coming back in there. All these people, I got fired. I'm walking in like Conor McGregor in an octagon, you know. Yeah, but my point is, I understand that, but I also understand you as a person, you own your social media, you want to express yourself. So I totally get that. He tells you you're the chief, you're the fire chief. What emotions? What's the first thing that you think about?
It was like, man, am I really gonna do this? Like I'm young. Like at that point, I was 39 or whatever. Like I'm young. Like, can I really be a fire chief? Can I lead 600 people? Can I run a $70 million budget?
Do you think that's the first time you really honestly asked yourself that question? Was that in that moment with?
Yeah, because everybody pumped me up, made me seem like I was hot shit.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm doing this. I'm gonna be the fire chief or whatever. And I was like, oh, they really named me. Like,
wow,
this is
man.
for real now. I mean, I don't think my credit score is even big. I'm running $70 million budget, and my credit score is terrible. I think I owed the bank money. And I was like, man, they trusted me with everybody's money.
That's so funny, dude. That's the moment where you started really feeling the pressure of being the fire chief. That was an instant thing?
Yeah, and it was more so for my family. I was like, Tom, I don't know if they ready. I mean, we'd had the conversations and everything else. I knew it was going to require a lot of time or whatever. And here it is. I mean, I got married in 2019.
Okay.
And I'm becoming the fire chief a couple years into my marriage. And I'm like, Tom, man, I really don't even know my wife yet. I just got married. Like, and now I'm about to have to take a lot of time away from her, my kids. They're going through high school. And I've already been through a divorce. And everything else is like, man, is my family gonna be ready for this?
They were so proud of you, though, weren't they?
Yeah, super supportive.
Tell me about the party. Hey, at the celebration, did you ban cell phones?
No, I didn't. I don't think I had a party. I think, but I think it was right into the.
Because dude, that was me. I'm at the door collecting phones at the door. No, you ain't coming in if you got your phone on. You're like a wedding ceremony.
You gotta always control the DJ too. I mean, it was the DJ's fault. I say that for my birthday party.
Of course it was. He went too hard.
Yeah, it went way too hard.
Tell me about your parents' reaction to you becoming fire chief.
So, interesting story. I was about to say, I'm trying not to cry. I can make myself fake cry, by the way.
Well, let's see it.
So just in case.
Do it, man.
So just in case. I'm just saying that just in case I do cry.
Do you need a napkin?
Yeah, I do need a tissue. I can use my shirt. I can snot in it.
We don't have napkins here. Our budget's not that high.
So my dad still working to this day, funeral home business. My dad really never did a lot when it came to. I was a drum major at Southwood. My dad didn't really show up to a lot of the games, so I'm used to my dad being the workaholic and not showing up for major stuff. Mm-hmm. However, my dad was super proud. My mother has dementia, so she was in the very kind of, I say, early stages of it where she was forgetting, But my mom, she couldn't even come. I'm trying to think, did she come to my swearing in? I think she did. Somebody brought her to the swearing in, but she didn't really understand. I know she didn't. She didn't understand the gravity.
What was going on?
Of being the fire chief. I was like, I'm the fire chief, and she's like, oh, okay.
Wow.
Okay. But my mom has always been the one that has been super supportive. If I was shooting jacks in kindergarten or shooting dice illegally, my mom was going to be like, hey, come on, seven. Yeah. She was very supportive my entire life.
Yeah.
So here it is. I'm I would say at this point, the biggest stage of my career, and my mom doesn't understand it.
Yeah.
She doesn't.
Did that happen
she doesn't
quick?
get it. It did. And I'm starting to wonder, man, how many people my mom put in jail from the IRS if she was even in her right mind. No, I was just joking.
Hey, wait a second. I got a call from the IRS. How long ago did she get diagnosed? Wait a second.
Yeah, it was about 2019.
Wait a damn, hang on now. All that time in jail.
But she.
That's interesting, man. So
I mean,
2019 she got diagnosed?
She probably got diagnosed in 2017 after I took medical power of attorney. I started going through records and realized she had been diagnosed way before she told us. She knew something was going on, but probably she's the woman that didn't want to bother everybody, didn't want everybody to worry about it, big on family and everything.
She didn't want to feel like a burden too.
She didn't want to feel like a burden. And it's progressed it's progressed fast or whatever. So now she's in a memory care unit and everything else because we couldn't do it. My brothers all stay in. I got 2 in Dallas, 1 in Houston. My dad's back and forth still working in Ruston or whatever. So it was pretty much just me and having to be the fire chief, have kids and take care of mom. It was overwhelming.
Yeah.
But that's what I remember the most about being named the fire chief and calling to tell people was my mom not really understanding
The gravity
how
of
big that stage was.
But a lifetime of like endless support.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
And who knows? There could be a piece of her in there that does understand
There
it.
is.
But it's like the connections are just so
I'll never know it.
miswired in that moment. But you know it. You
Yeah.
know. Thank you for telling me that. Once you're named fire chief, and maybe give me the first year as the chief. What is that like?
First year seemed easy. I mean,
Really? Are you settling in, or is there a training wheel period? I don't mean
No.
like, or do they just
and I call
send
it
you-
fire chief amnesia or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, fire chief leaves and you call him 2 weeks later and be like, Tony, hey, you remember you made this decision? And you know, I'm like, Tony, I made that decision. I don't remember that. Bye. Whatever. Like, hey man, you signed this and you signed this executive order.
I don't
or whatever.
remember that. Bye.
Yeah. Like, Tony,
great.
hey man, do you know where the keys are to such and such? And I'm like, no, I don't remember that. And I'm like, man, you just left 3 days ago. What you mean you don't remember? Or whatever. So there was really I had the opportunity to sit under Chief Wolverton as the administrative assistant to the fire chief.
Okay.
So I was his.
You got to see it intimately.
Yeah, I got
before.
to see it intimately. So the transition was not as bad. But they put papers on my desk. I remember like that first week, they put papers on. I was like, sign this. I said, that was easy, or whatever. I don't even know if I read them. I was like, sign this. Oh, that was easy,
Yeah.
or whatever. And then
You
the
sign
email-
one sheet of paper, and then a Lamborghini fire truck shows up a month later.
Yeah, that Tesla fire truck. But then I'm about to say, after that, it was the emails that started. It was the complaints that started coming in. Then it was council calling, the mayor calling. I was like, oh, well, this is a lot. But the fire chief told me a long time ago, he said, you never know what it's like to sit in this seat until you sit in it. And I was like, man, I'm getting all the phone calls now. I'm the one on the news and everything else.
I'm the one doing the
But,
work.
Yeah, I was not prepared for that.
Wow. So even sitting that close to that position for so long, it was still more than you
Oh,
expected.
still a learning curve. Yeah.
Really. What's been the greatest thing about being the chief of fire here in Shreveport?
The connection in the community. So while you may have everybody's always going to have disgruntled employees, people that don't think you're doing a great job and everything else.
Yeah.
Where I receive my gratitude is when I get into the public or whatever. My biggest thing is public perception or whatever. When I'm out and now I go to, Words Over Latte on Monday right down the street. I'm in Taco Tuesday. I don't know, Wind Down Wednesdays, Thursdays at Josh's. So I'm out in the public. I'm at Bible study. I'm at churches. I'm speaking places. But when the public comes up, say, hey, I see the job that you're doing an excellent job. We see our firemen doing this, man, you're doing a great job. We see you in the community. We see the fire department in the community. That's where I receive a lot of the gratitude. It's like, wow, people are actually paying attention.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe that kind of connection has been missing, not just from the fire chief, also the police chief, also I would say political figures, because you said it earlier, you're kind of in politics at that point, at that stage, but even local politicians. I can say from the outside looking in, I don't believe there's been enough of that, enough connections. I'm not going to name his name, but I can name one time where pretty well-known local politicians dropped the puck at a Mudbugs game. This guy walked in with like 8 security guards, dropped the puck, and left the arena. He didn't say a word to anybody. It was bizarre, and I remembered not liking that. From your perspective, do you think that's just maybe something that the right person has to be in the job to be willing to go out to all the things that you just named? Do you think that's? I think it's pretty important. How do you see it?
It depends, and it's the person or whatever. At the end of the day, the person is very guarded. They're gonna if they grew up that way, if they were that way professionally, they're gonna be that way as a mayor, as a city councilman. They're gonna be that way.
Yeah.
My wife cannot stand going to. My wife wakes Walmart orders all the time. My kids hate going to. They count how many people I'm gonna stop and talk to.
Yeah,
or
they
whatever,
hate it.
because yes, I will sit there and talk to you about. I don't know your loved one dying and the response time of the fire department on the condom aisle. I mean, it's the weirdest thing to be like, ma'am, can we move, please? I feel really uncomfortable sitting here talking to you about this. So it's you have to be a people person. You have to, and you have to be able. They need to meet you where you are.
Of course.
Whatever. So, and that's why I go to places like the clubs, the churches, and stuff like that, because that's where you get a lot of your complaints or praises.
I don't know it certainly as intimately as you do. I know it from the outside looking in, but I can say just from this 45 minutes we've been together so far, you're so honest and open, and I promise you, even the doubters, like, that will win them over when you do see them in public and you are willing to just come down to where they are for a moment and have a conversation in the condom aisle. that's something that lasts though. Like that person leaves and that person says, I can't believe he stopped and made time just to talk with me for a second. And that's not common. Like I think that's one of the coolest things, if not the coolest thing about you, is that you're willing to do that. And I think that's why you're going to be so successful, and you already have been. Now the important question today, who would win in a fist fight? You or the chief of police, Wayne Smith?
Oh, that's me, easy.
No doubt, right?
No doubt.
It's like
it's based off of age.
It's like 70 years old,
yeah,
right?
I was say, and I'm just
Battle of the Badges.
I can probably.
Can we line it up?
We can't. Now I'm scared.
Yeah, now it feels a little real.
Nah, he's really been trained in tactics and stuff. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah,
about that
man.
now.
He's a
but,
great guy.
yeah.
Wayne's an awesome guy.
And he is. But he's the same person. I get a lot of my leadership style from him. He's the one in the community. He'll talk to you.
Yeah.
Anywhere. He's not trying to rush you off or anything. So I get a lot of that. From him.
Do you guys work together? Like, how does that work? The chief of police, the fire chief. Do y'all have like? I guess just what's that like?
We do, because we're the two that are responsible for. Mainly for public safety or whatever, from crime to EMS to storms and everything else. If you ever sit in a room with us at any type of meeting, and every mayor can tell you this, like it's always a battle. Either I'm a jab or he's gonna jab, and it's a back and forth. Whether or not it's donuts or their response time or whatever the case is, and he's gonna talk about how much we grill at fire stations. It's always a back and forth. So the competition you see here is very unique between police and fire, because you go to other states, New York, they hate each other. You go to Chicago's, they hate each other or whatever.
Why is that?
I have no idea. They're probably sleeping with the same person.
That's true. That's
So
true. That's true, actually.
I don't
Listen,
know.
I know. That's true. All right. I've always, it's kind of like in Anchorman. I always, all the news stations show up in the Anchorman movie and they all fist fight immediately because they hate each other. A lot of radio people are like that in Shreveport. And I've at a car dealership promoting a Volkswagen for 2 hours. This other radio station shows up and like eyes me down. Like, what are we doing, dude? This is Shreveport. Like, calm down. We're not going to kill each other here. I do like Wayne. He's a great guy. And can you fire Wesley Nail?
Yes. Let me see. Wesley.
Do you have a reason to fire him?
I don't, man. Wesley saved me. Like Wesley came and picked me up during that last snowstorm. Him and Trey Bobcat.
Well, that was the next guy I was going to ask if you could fire. If you could just get rid of those two, they're great guys. Wesley and to get you on, I called Wesley. I was like, dude, please hook me up with Clarence, man. Get me going. I had no clue you knew my guy Daniel McDonald though.
Man, that's my guy right there.
Can you tell me maybe the hardest part about being the fire chief in Shreveport?
The time commitment and the balance, family work balance.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell everybody, especially when you accept a leadership role, even in the administration with the fire department, there's a lot that's gonna happen before 8 and a lot that's gonna happen after 5, and you have to be willing to be that guy.
Yeah.
And trying to find that balance. Chief Kelvin Cochran, one of the best fire chiefs Shreveport has ever seen. And was the U.S. fire administrator under President Obama. Called me this morning, but I remember a lot of his lessons, and I remember him telling me, he said, "Man, you're gonna have to let something go." At that point, I was becoming fire chief. I owned a business. I was a musician and heavily involved in church and still. And he was like, "You're gonna have to let something go." And I was like, "Well, it ain't gonna be church and music. My business, that's making me. I mean, that's disposable income." I said, "I think I can do it all. I'm young enough or whatever." Nah,
wow.
I was say. If my pastor sees me at this point, once every 2 months.
You don't play at church anymore?
I can't.
Yeah.
I'm speaking somewhere.
That's a great advice, though, because you can. I'm probably the same way to an extent. Like, I feel like I can do everything until it's time to do everything. And then something is always going to get, even not intentionally, like, at least for me, something, if I try to do way too many things and jam it all in, something's going to be put on the back burner and suffer, and the performance will suffer. So.
I don't know how to say no. That's
Can you come back on next week?
Absolutely. See, I said what that was.
He tells the truth. He does tell the truth.
I'm gonna call you next week and be like, "Tom, you know what, man? I'm in New Orleans. I'm out of town." So, yeah, I can tell you now. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So that's great. I think with having a 3-year-old too, I can't imagine. So you had a newborn when you became the fire chief?
Yep.
Wow.
When I became the fire chief, and it was, of course, I get blamed for it now. You weren't here, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and everything else.
But have you been listening to my podcast with my baby mama? Sounds exactly like it. I'm having flashbacks. Yeah.
It's cheaper to spend the time with them now than having to go through a divorce and have to pay them on the back end.
God, way cheaper.
I was saying, then they don't want you to spend time with them. At that
Well, what
point
was that like
sometimes.
though, having a newborn? I mean, you're balancing what has to feel like the weight of the world, and you're coming home to
Well, so I thought I was smart. I mean, I told my wife, I encouraged her, hey, you need to breastfeed or whatever. I mean, I can't do it. So, I mean, hey, when you got to get up, hey, I'm getting my sleep in. So, she always has the baby because she's breastfeeding. So
Right.
that was my scapegoat. Like, I can't do anything, sorry. And then I learned, I was like, oh, man. My first wife didn't breastfeed. So then I found out, I was like, you can pump milk? Oh, this sucks. Now
wait,
gotta
I don't
get
have
up.
to spend $40 a day on formula?
Yeah, I got to get up now.
Wait a
for real.
second.
Like, you
Wait,
tricked me.
those things can do something else than what I use them for? Wait a dang second.
You tricked me.
You tricked me. That's dude. Yeah, mine didn't breastfeed at all. I'd come home from the club at 7 o'clock in the morning, and there's that baby waiting on daddy. I'd take my shirt off and pop that formula in, and I'd sit there. I'd fall asleep with her, for hours. But
that's the beauty of being able to go home and wait, and baby's waiting on you,
waiting on you.
Yeah.
And then they're 12 and they hate your guts, and you can do nothing right. I'm trying to see if there's anything we didn't that I wanted to talk about. I guess I ask everyone that comes on the Shreveportant podcast this question. If you could tell me the worst thing about being Clarence Reese Jr. and tell me the best thing about being Clarence Reese Jr.
The worst thing about being Clarence Reese Jr. is probably the ability not to say no. That's probably it benefits everybody else, but it hurts me in the long run and hurts my family. The best thing about being Clarence is you would have to have my family. You'd have to have my 17, 14-year-old and my 3-year-old. Honestly, if you check my Facebook, I'm not the most famous out of the Reese family. It's the 3-year-old. Everybody asks, how's Jackson doing? He has long hair.
Man.
I mean, he's a smart
He's the
individual.
superstar,
He
though.
is literally the rock star.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, get him into modeling, get him into acting.
That's
I mean,
cool.
that's the best part about being Clarence Reese is my kids and my family.
That's cool, man. When we had when they gotten around that age, 3 or 4, and they're little social media superstars, I'd go out with them and I'm getting all gawky. A beautiful woman's walking up in my direction. Obviously, she's gonna hit on me. Is that River Watley that I see on Facebook?
That's what I
it
get.
is.
That's Jackson. What's Jackson been up to? You need to post them more. And I'm like, I just posted like 5 things about myself. What do you mean?
Listen, I'm not gonna go too crazy on this, but maybe my oldest was old enough, like 8 or 9, getting taller, beautiful, and some guy came up to me like at a mud buzzing game. He was a weird looking dude. He was like, "Your daughter is so beautiful." I love looking at her pictures. Every time, and I'm looking at it, I don't even know this guy's name.
Yeah, night.
And I was like, I think I'm gonna stop posting pictures now for a little bit.
Creepy right there.
It just creeped me out. It was the way he said it too. He's probably the nicest guy in the world, sir. If you're listening, please don't kill me or my family.
You want a lollipop?
Yeah.
Weird.
Does she like candy? I've got a van outside.
White van, right?
Did you bring her with you tonight, dude? Chill out. Where do you? So you've been fire chief for 3 years now, and you are young. We talked about that quite a bit. Where's Clarence Reese Jr. in 20 years?
Retired.
Perfect. In a perfect world, yeah.
Retired. So we can retire at 25 years.
Yeah.
So I have about 2 years before I can retire. But I want to do some consulting work or something like that.
Okay.
At 30 years, you get 100% of your retirement. So even if I stay to 30 years to get 100% of my retirement, that may be the goal. But biggest thing is I didn't have high blood pressure when I became fire chief. I do now. I was probably 200 pounds when I became fire chief. I became 230 after becoming fire chief.
Wow.
So now I'm starting to reverse a lot of those things, taking a little shot, and everybody like, it's almost like the people that take steroids. I'm not taking steroids. You ask me if I'm taking the shot, I'm losing weight. Yes, I'm taking the shot.
Tell you every time I am.
I don't
Yeah.
care. Or whatever. I feel
No
much
one ever
better.
asked me that question. Just I can't relate to you on that one, brother.
My hypertension is,
man.
it's under control.
That's cool.
So.
Do you think that's just kind of getting in and getting maybe now kind of you've been doing it for 3 years, so now you got a really good handle on what to expect. Maybe it's not affecting you like it was maybe in the
I've learned to write a lot of stuff off because literally my blood pressure was 240 over 110 after a meeting one day, and that's stroke. As a paramedic, I already know what comes along with that. I was like, and the guy that took my blood pressure, he's like, man, you want to go to the hospital? It's mandatory transport. And I was like, man, I'm not going to no hospital.
That's crazy.
And trying to play tough, in the back of my head, I was scared.
Yeah.
Scared.
Yeah,
I immediately called the doctor.
get right in the car and drive to the.
I hate vinegar. I hate the smell of vinegar. Man, you should have seen me down in apple cider vinegar trying to lower my blood pressure. And I was like, every old remedy that ever came across, I was like, get it. I got to lower my blood pressure. I don't want to stroke out.
Gosh, man, I think you're doing a great job. I all of my friends that work under you, they love you, and the community obviously loves you. And I think the more you can do exactly what you're doing of just getting out and never being too big for anybody. And I know, like, your family, when you're out and about and you do have to stop a million times to stop and, put your stuff on pause, like, I know that they'll understand it. It's your job. It's what you have to do. And I think you're just doing a great job. So,
well, they hadn't complained about eating out. They hadn't complained about the vehicles I buy. They hadn't complained about the rooms they live in.
They didn't complain the world about that.
Yes.
They ain't drinking cola, I tell you that much.
I do RC. No, I was just joking. No, it's not that bad.
Yeah, do they still make RC?
Yeah, I think they do.
Do they?
They do still make it.
Somewhere.
So it's out there somewhere.
It's out there.
Before we put a bow on this sucker, as always, I leave it to the Toe. Do you have any questions for the fire chief today, Toe?
Oh, I don't think I do. I think y'all covered it great.
Well, you
I
sat
loved
there.
hearing the story.
You sat there for 1 hour and you couldn't think of one question to ask.
No,
the fire
I was
chief.
too entangled in the story, man.
I'm growing a beard
Entangled.
like y'all
Yeah.
one day.
Look at
That's
that.
what I'm looking forward to after
Well,
the time.
listen.
Oh, man.
I'm growing beards.
When you got as many warrants as he and I do, you got to change. You got to grow it and hide it a little bit. So you got to do it. Hey, on retirement, is that what you're gonna do? Day one is just immediately.
I'm gonna try. I've tried to grow one. And
No,
it
Shreveport
itches.
police can grow beards.
They can.
What
Yeah.
the hell?
They don't have to wear masks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that they don't have to wear.
Oh,
the mask.
that's why you can't have a beard because you got to put the mask on.
Yep,
I
has
didn't
to
think
have a
about that.
seal.
I could never be a fireman, man.
So is it true they call the mustache the booger catcher?
Yep. Heard
When
that
you're in a
before.
fire, you start snotting.
Yep.
Oh, there's my question.
That was a great question, Toe. That was so good, man. Thank you
Call
for
it other things too, but not for this show. We can't talk about this.
I'd certainly love to have you back on the Shreveportant podcast in the future, dude. Really, I've enjoyed this so much, and thank you for your honesty and your humility. And I just, to me, I always respect when a guest can talk about the really great things about themselves and also be willing to talk about the things that they needed to change and did change. I respect you even more now. I respected you before today. Clarence Reese Jr., my friends, if he is not Shreveportant, no one is Shreveportant. Thank you for your time, man.
Absolutely,
I appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate you.
Come on.